Home builders across America are in deep trouble in 2022. That's because they are building a near record amount of homes right now, just as interest and mortgage rates are surging. This combination is inevitably going to lead to a wave, a deluge of canceled contracts from home buyers on new homes, and that is going to send the housing market into a crash, and it's going to mean that these home builders, particularly the big ones, are going to suffer huge losses. And I don't think people really understand just how many homes are being built across America right now. This data from the US Census Bureau shows that right now in 2022, there's nearly 800,000 single-family homes actively under construction. That's 40% higher than the long-term historical average of 550,000, which you can see by this yellow dotted line. And it's now nearing the levels that we saw in the previous housing bubble in 2005-2006. And so it's really important for you all to understand, if you want to get a sense for this housing market in 2022 and how the crash is going to play out, you got to understand that home builders are going nuts right now. You just saw the data. A near record amount of homes are under construction, particularly in certain parts of America. We're seeing a massive surge in building, and later in this video, I'm going to tell you the cities where we're going to see the most canceled home building contracts and the most turmoil and the biggest crash. But before we get into that, everyone, we need to discuss the status of these nearly 800,000 homes being built in America. Are these homes that have actually already been purchased by someone? Has someone already put a deposit down and is just going to be the rightful owner when it's delivered? Or are these homes being built without a buyer, aka are they being built on spec? And based on my analysis of this US Census Bureau data that goes back 4 or 5 decades, everyone, this is one of the longest running data sets to understand home building in the housing market, it looks like about 500,000 of the homes under construction have already been purchased, while 270,000 are being built on spec, aka they don't have a buyer yet. Now, on first blush, this might be discouraging to potential home buyers and real estate investors out there to see that nearly 2/3 of the 770,000 homes under construction have already been purchased. But here's what they're not telling you, everyone, and that's that many of the homes that have already been purchased and that are under construction are going to be available for you to buy very, very soon. And that's because a lot of buyers are about to cancel their contracts en masse. We're about to see a wave of buyer contract cancellations on these homes that are under construction. And let me give you an example of this so you can see just how crazy these cost increases are for these buyers who have gone under contract. Take a look at this example of a new build home in Austin that's on the market from a builder for $561,000. Now, if you would have put a deposit down for this home, say 3 or 4 months ago, your interest rate would have been around 3%, which means that your estimated monthly cost, according to Zillow, would be about $3,500 a month to own this home if you had put a deposit down 3 or 4 months ago in late 2021, early 2022. But now fast forward to today, and with the mortgage rate up to 4.8%, your monthly cost is now over $4,000 a month. Now, say mortgage rates keep going up and we get to a 5.5% 30-year fixed rate in the next month or two, which I think is very realistic given the Federal Reserve's plan to increase interest rates, well, then the cost to own this home would go up to $4,200 a month. Wow, folks, that is crazy that in this hypothetical example in Austin, which is representative, I think, of what many people are experiencing who are buying homes right now, this is something that's going to devastate the home building industry and housing market. Because number one, a lot of people are not going to want to buy the home when it's delivered, given how much the cost of ownership's gone up. But then number two, a lot of people will not be able to qualify for the mortgage to purchase the home when the home is delivered. And the way to think about this, folks, it's almost kind of like a battle, a war between the home builders and then banks and mortgage lenders. Because the home builders on one hand are saying to themselves, like, we have so much demand to buy homes right now, we can increase the price, we can take a long time to deliver these homes because of materials delays and it doesn't matter. But then on the bank and mortgage lender side of the equation, they're thinking to themselves, well, wait a minute, no, this does matter because I pre-approved this person person at a 3% mortgage rate to buy this house, but now that the mortgage rate's 5%, I can't approve this person for the loan. And it's really this battle, this collision between home builders and banks and mortgage lenders that's going to explode in the next several months and lead to this wave of canceled contracts. And as I promised you before, now we're going to look at the cities in the metro areas that are most exposed to this cancellation risk, this cancellation of home building contracts that's going to increase inventory and leave home builders devastated. Pay attention to the areas in yellow on this map, as they're the ones that are seeing the biggest increase in single family permitting and home building, and I think they're going to see the biggest increase in cancellations and basically too many homes being built and delivered to the market. There's a big cluster of risk in the southeast. A metro like Atlanta has seen an increase in 5,000 single family homes being permitted since the pandemic. That's a big warning sign, as in a place like Nashville, Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, and then Raleigh, North Carolina are all places where we could have a big increase in cancellations. Additionally, Florida is massively at risk in terms of this situation, particularly Central Florida and Southwest Florida. Orlando, Lakeland, Tampa, Northport, Cape Coral, we've seen a big increase in single-family permitting. Like, take a look at Cape Coral, more than double the amount of units permitted since before the pandemic. So we have builders working feverishly in these areas to fill orders, but what's going to happen when all of a sudden people cancel the contracts? Additionally, massive risk in Texas, particularly Dallas and Houston, where there's been an increase in over 12,000 single-family homes being permitted and built from pre-pandemic levels, as well as Austin and San Antonio, where we've also seen very big relative increases. And then finally, we have this cluster in the southwest portion of the U.S. Phoenix, Tucson, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles have all seen a big increase in single-family home permitting. Lots of homes under contract that are currently being built in these areas in the Southwest, so watch out for cancellations here. But here's the crazy thing, folks. So far, we've only really talked about cancellations of homes being built that have already been purchased. But there's a whole other segment of homes being built, the ones that are on spec, which I addressed before, about 270,000 that are being built with no home buyer right now. And you can get a sense of the massive surge in spec building by looking at this graph, which is, again, data from the US Census Bureau, telling us how many homes are currently for sale that are actively under construction. And you can see that we are at 260,000 right now in 2022 homes under construction that don't have a buyer. That's way above the long-term average going back 40 years of 176,000. And once again, we're starting to get close to the levels that we were at in the mid-2000s in terms of the amount of spec building going on, aka home builders building homes feverishly right now because they think they're going to have a buyer for it when it's completed. But once again, given the massive surge in mortgage rates we've seen across America over the last 3 months and the continued increase we're likely to see over the next several months, when these spec homes get delivered, I don't necessarily think there will be a buyer. And this is a risk that maybe the home builders aren't telling you if you go to buy a home. They're making it seem like, the demand's going to be good forever. But if you actually look at what these home builders say in their SEC filings to their investors, you see that they're very well aware of this risk. For instance, take a look at this snippet from the D.R. Horton annual 10K filing. This is one of the largest home builders in America, D.R. Horton. Look at what they told their investors in their 2021 annual report filing. Mortgage rates are currently low compared to most historical periods. However, market conditions could change, causing mortgage rates to rise in the future. And then here's the key point, folks, to pay attention to. When interest rates increase, the cost of owning a home increases, which will likely reduce the number of potential home buyers who can obtain mortgage financing, and thus could result in a decline in the demand for our homes. So there you have it, folks. D.R. Horton, the largest home builder in America, is telling its investors to be wary of what's going to happen when mortgage and interest rates increase. You should probably pay attention to that. You should also pay attention to this. D.R. Horton goes on to say, our sales contracts require an earnest money deposit, aka if someone wants to purchase a home before it's built, they have to put a deposit down, typically 2 to 3%. The thing about it is that the contracts include a financing contingency which permits customers customers to cancel and receive a refund of their deposit if they cannot obtain mortgage financing at prevailing or specified interest rates. So in case some of you were skeptical or wondering how people could back out of their contract to purchase a home that's currently under construction, well, D.R. Horton just told you typically their contracts have a financing clause which says if you can't obtain a mortgage by the time the home is built, you can get your deposit back and cancel the contract. This is especially problematic for home builders in the housing market when you consider the fact that nearly 95% of all newly built homes are purchased using a mortgage. You heard that right, folks. According to the U.S. Census Bureau in 2021, 94% of all newly built home sales in America were financed with a mortgage. That means only 6% were all cash transactions. That means that the newly built home sale market in America is ridiculously exposed to what happens with mortgage rates. And as we continue to see mortgage rates rise, you're going to see more of these release clauses in these contracts triggered, and people cancel the contracts and walk away from the homes as they're delivered. This is going to send an unexpected deluge of new home inventory onto the market, which is going to destabilize the local markets in many of the metros that we talked about earlier, those areas in yellow on the map where we saw the biggest increases in single-family home permitting. These are going to be the ones that have the biggest deluge of unexpected inventory, and I think as well as reduced home prices over the next 6 months. Now, of course, no one can 100% predict what's going to happen with monetary policy and how much the Fed's going to raise interest rates, because that's going to have a big impact on this equation. However, given the guidance that Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, is giving right now, we're going to see a lot more monetary tightening over the next 6 months, and that's going to, as I said earlier, push mortgage rates up further. And I think kind of that threshold of where lots of people are going to cancel their contracts for new homes is going to be around the 5.5% 30-year fixed mortgage rate. We're at 4.8% today. I think when we see 5.5%, that's when the game is over for a lot of these housing markets in the Southeast, in Florida, in Texas, in the Southwest. And let me know in the comments below if you're somebody who's going through this right now, if you're under contract to buy a home and you're seeing the mortgage rate go up. What's your threshold, your cutoff from walking away from the contract? Additionally, make sure everyone to smash that like button. That's the best way you can support this channel and show your appreciation for these videos. One final piece of good news I'm going to leave you with before signing off is that we just got new data from Realtor.com, which shows that actually the amount of homes on the market, both existing and newly built, went up in March, and it went up a lot in certain cities. This was an unexpected development, this surge in inventory in certain cities that, combined with the canceled contracts that are coming, is going to lead to a big downturn in certain housing markets. So I'm going to talk more about that in a video early next week, so stay tuned to learn more about this big surge in inventory that happened in March in certain cities.